Take a look at this chart. It shows the increase in the market capitalization of different financial assets in the past 3 years. Global equity markets have grown by $27 trillion, the S&P 500 by around $15 trillion, and gold by $11 trillion. Together, these moves have generated trillions of dollars in wealth, making investors significantly richer along the way. Now this small bar, right here, that's Bitcoin, with only a $1.8 trillion growth, which has corresponded to roughly a 500% increase in Bitcoin's price. So while money has poured into equities and gold over the past few years, Bitcoin's rise has occurred with comparatively little capital. If just a small fraction of the profits made in these other asset classes were to flow into Bitcoin, it could set the stage for a much larger move up in Bitcoin's price. We're going to look at whether this is a plausible scenario in this video. To put all of this in perspective, here's a chart showing the net worth of just the top 1% of the population. In the last 3 years, their wealth has grown from $40 trillion to $50 trillion, so an increase of $10 trillion. In other words, the richest investors have never had more dry powder in history. And that kind of wealth expansion potentially opens the door to capital reallocation towards Bitcoin. Even a portion of this wealth being rotated into a small $2 trillion asset like Bitcoin could potentially have a massive impact on price. According to a recent study, it takes roughly $135 million of capital to move Bitcoin's price by 1%. For gold, it takes about $2 billion to trigger a move of 1%. So a 1% reallocation of the recent $10 trillion wealth accumulation of the top 1% of the US population towards Bitcoin would hypothetically lead to a 700% move. Of course, this is a highly theoretical scenario because it would require that entire amount to hit the market all at once to produce that effect. But it does raise a more realistic and important question. Should we expect capital to rotate towards Bitcoin in a more substantial way in the coming months? Well, we may be seeing the early signs of this taking place. Just last month, gold went from a $9 billion inflow to a $2 billion outflow, telling us that capital is starting to move out of the traditional safe haven after its record advance. At the same time, Bitcoin inflows doubled, rising from $3 billion to nearly $6 billion. So, money is already starting to rotate out of the yellow precious metal and into what many like to call digital gold.